Robotics
Assemble.
Assemble.
Yeah. So, hello, my name is Delaney. I'll be your host for this podcast today. I am currently a member of Saints Robotics, and we have with us some I call them seniors because they were seniors in my freshman year. But we have some of our alums. Um, we have Ari, Jack, Tara, and Olivia. And if you want to introduce yourselves, tell us what college you're at, your major, and some things you've done while you were on Saints Robotics. Ari, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm Ari. I currently attend Northeastern University. My major is computer science and computer engineering. Yeah. I am a first year. I guess it's worth noting.
What did you do on Saints Robotics?
For the first years, I was just a member of the programming subteam, and then the last 2 years, I was either co or later on lead of the programming subteam.
I can go next. I'm Jack. I go to Chapman University. I'm a sophomore and I'm a business major. And while I was on Saints Robotics, for the first 2 years, I was just a team member. And then for the last two, I was a co-engineering lead with my sister Olivia, who's also on the podcast.
Hello. Yeah. So I had the same path, I guess, as him on the team, and now I'm in school. I still don't entirely know what I'm going to do, but probably mechanical stuff.
Cool. I'm Tara, and I go to the University of Washington now, and I'm also majoring in computer science, like Ari. And when I was on Saints Robotics, for the first 2 years, I was on the programming team, and then in my junior year of high school, I was the control systems subteam lead, and then in my senior year, I was systems architect, which is a weird name, but just meant that I was in charge of like the programming and control systems subteams.
Cool. So I think that brings us to our next question. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you did while you were on Saints Robotics? Like, what were some of like your strengths? What were like some cool projects that really stood out?
I mean, if we're following the same order, I can go again. So I guess strength-wise, or at least what I would do, I feel like once I got into the role of co-lead and then later lead, the main job was teaching. I found that was usually my strength. After going through the first 2 years, which were a little tough, learning programming at high speed to be able to make it there, I really wanted everyone who joined the club, who wanted to do programming, to be able to feel like they could learn it and that they could do it. As far as like weaknesses might go, I know for sure that it was very difficult to balance robotics with with the rest of your extracurriculars and with classes as well. And I think I definitely found my balance a little bit later on in the year, a little bit later than I would have wanted. The biggest thing that I did, or my favorite project at least, was organizing the largest move that I think I will ever organize of furniture to the new robotics lab that we had senior year.
Yeah, that was really great. I guess you could say I was part of the first generation who did not get to experience the shed, the notorious.
Oh God.
Right.
I think that's a good thing.
I think that's a good thing.
That shed was not a good workplace.
Yeah, I really miss our space at Ivanhoe. It was great having that space. So just thank you for doing what you did to get us that. So yeah, it's really helped us a lot. Jack, I remember this was like the end of the first week of build season. Um, Friday before the potluck, we all sort of shared what we had gotten accomplished that week, and you really spoke to how having this space really made a difference in that, in just in our build season and in our work. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it totally did. I think once we got into the new space in Ivanhoe, everyone was just working faster. We were getting things done, and it was just like we had people working more closely together, and we could just get things done much quicker. Everything was within arm's reach, right? Like when we were working at Interlake, it would be half of our equipment inside in one room and then the other half of the equipment outside in the shed. And it was really cold out in the shed, and so no one wanted to be out there for very long most of the time. But as soon as we got moved into Ivanhoe, it was, everything was within 30 feet or whatever, and you could go, work on one project, stop, go work on another thing, and it's all within arm's reach. And you have the build team working here, and the programming team working in the space next to them, and then the comm team on the other side of the room. So it's like whatever you needed, it was just walk across the room and ask for it instead of make the trek from our shed all the way down to the classroom, talk for a bit, come back, figure out where you need to be. I mean, you don't have to look for tools as much either. It was before, it was like you had to move tools around, and if you had like clamps or something, maybe they're outside in the shed, maybe they're inside in the cabinet. You don't really know. But it felt like everything had its place. We had more machinery to work with. um, I think getting the Ivanhoe space was one of the best things that we were able to do in our 4 years.
I think too that it's important that at school we never had a permanent space. We would only be in a space for a bit of time in the evenings, and then at the end we'd have to put everything like back, because the next day at school there would be students in that space who would have to like do schoolwork. And when we got our new space, it was just for us, and so we could make sure that the space, like, I mean, it was important that we could start on a task and then not have to put the task back at the end of the evening, and we could like start in the same spot at the next day. But also just the fact that like we could move around the things in the space, and we could like pay a lot of attention to like the way this, like where we had things in the space to make sure it was the best fit for our team.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I definitely think it just made things so much easier, like, and made us as sub teams work together just so much better, because we weren't. I remember like when I was on the programming sub team, like the first 2 years or whatever. When we were doing work, we'd usually be in like one corner of the room, and then like all the build people would be like going back and forth between the shed, and so we would get like so little interaction with people. And yeah, there was just less communication. And if we wanted to drive the robot, we'd have to like lug it all the way down to the cafeteria.
It's true.
That's
We actually had
right.
space to like build, like I think we had like half of
Yeah.
a field, or like not quite. We had about half of a field though, so we could actually like test the robot in our shop, and we didn't have to like try and like test it like in the. I think we were testing it in the cafeteria at school, like on like the
Linoleum.
like yeah,
And
forgot
We were
that
on
sometimes
the
the
word.
carpet.
hallway.
Yeah.
Sometimes the hallway.
Delaney, I don't know if you were around for this, but there was a time when we would have each sub team in a different room. So we had like 3 or 4 different rooms with people in them. And then we would be building in the one room and testing down in the cafeteria. So we were occupying like 5 different spaces at once at some points, which was crazy
Yeah,
to think about now.
that was
Yeah.
the era of the programming classroom, which was
Oh,
it was
That's
a whole
right.
thing.
That's right.
I was asking for programming, and sometimes there would be some days when I would not see any build people at all because I would just be in that room the whole time.
Watching the lecture, it was bad.
Yeah, the people on the teams like wouldn't talk. You would just go and be with your own team in your own room and just like not talk to the rest of the team like all day. It was bad.
Wow.
And there was the closet too. We had to share. We had a closet across the hall from our room that we had to share with like the teachers in the school. So it was like the
And
robotics
the
space
music program. It was where
and the
they
music.
stored
So
all
there
of
was
the
like
sheet music.
sheet music in there, and like random textbooks, and then there was like our robotics space and like our tool chest and like our robots on the floor. Uh,
Wow.
oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, my whole time, ever since like freshman year, the programming workspace literally was on our field, like our 3/4 or 2/3 of a field.
Yeah.
It was just like right in the middle. We've kind of shifted things around just a little bit since that year, but still, it's really close to build. I mean, like when they're sawing something, it gets really loud. But yeah, it's really great that we're able to communicate and work with each other very very closely because of this space. It goes to one of our core values as a team of interdependence. Um, the sub teams really working together to create something. So, yeah.
Super cool.
So you've had like 3 more years of engineering, or 3 more years before I came to this team. So is there anything like really interesting or something that you really learned from those 3 years that's had an impact on the way engineering sort of ran when I was a freshman?
I would say the biggest thing was the Cassidys.
Ooh,
Uh,
yeah.
it like
Uh,
they were before your time, but there were the president of the club and the head of the engineering sub team, or head of engineering. So he was head of build programming and
CAD.
Control
and
systems?
CAD. Yeah, we didn't have control systems at the time.
It
So
exists.
they were brother and sister. They were twins, like Olivia and I are. And Shannon Cassidy was the president, and Jonathan Cassidy was the engineering lead. And I think they together like totally changed the culture of the club and how, I don't know, maybe not specifically how engineering was run, but we've heard a lot of, at least Olivia and I, well, all four of us have, we've all heard stories of the time before the Cassidys came and Shannon became president and Jonathan became the engineering lead. Um, and it was way different. It was a way different experience than what any of us have experienced before. Before they started changing how it worked, the freshmen weren't allowed to do much. Sometimes they weren't allowed in the pits.
That was
There
like
was like
most
a
of the time.
yeah,
Wow.
there was a
When
core
we were
group
in
of like
ninth grade,
seniors. Go for it. Go for it.
sorry, yeah, when we were in ninth grade, it was the first time that people in ninth grade could be in the pits at
Wow.
events.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was always like a core group of mostly juniors and seniors who would do everything on the robot, and like especially the freshmen wouldn't really get to do much. And then they came in and just totally changed how they wanted our club to run to more of what we have now.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. I,
There was
that
this. Hmm?
Yeah, that's like I was just gonna say that's a huge difference from what we have now. We have like I think 2 or 3 podcast episodes ago we had Arvind, who was a freshman last year. He was literally like complaining about how much work we gave him, like setting up the pits, all the pit triangles. Those gave him so much trouble. He was like setting us up at our competition in Glacier Peak, and he was like, pit triangles. Um, so that's really changed, and like he was obviously one of our pit crew members. Like when I had rammed the intake into the wall one match accidentally, he was like the one fixing it, um, and he was a freshman, but he did know the system very very well, so that he could fix it if and when it gets damaged during a match. So that's like I'm glad that um, that change happen, because it really got freshmen into the pits sooner, and so I've seen how it's had a positive impact on the team without even like I did not know that we have freshmen doing a lot of work. I did not know that was because of the Cassidys. So that's amazing.
I
I want to
remember.
give credit real quick. I just want to give credit to like all the leadership from that year because I think the Cassidys were definitely a big driving force, but people like Andrew Choi and Anthony and Tay, and as well as all the other people who were in leadership that year. I can't remember all of them, but I think all those people played a part in changing it to the way it is now. So I brought up the Cassidys, but I think the entire leadership team my sister and I first 2 years, or all of us, well, our first 2 years of being in the club, there was a leadership team that I think changed the entire culture of the club.
Yeah, I remember there was a time when I was in ninth grade, and it was like at the start of the school year, and I think we were trying to build a part to go on the practice field, and there was this part that that didn't fit in the space it was supposed to, and so we went to go talk to Jonathan about it, and we're like, hey, this part is supposed to fit here and it can't, and he like told us like how to make it, um, and like I didn't understand because I was like, I'm pretty sure that the thing that you have just told me to do, I'm pretty sure that this will not work. But I was also like, I'm in ninth grade and he's like in charge of like the team, and like I can't tell him that he's wrong. Like I was like that, like he wouldn't care. And so, but I was like, I don't understand how this will do what he expects it to do. And so I was like so scared, and I was stressing about it for a long time, and I was like, fine, like I'll just go and like talk to him about it. And I was expecting him to like either not care or like be like mad, I guess. But I went and explained to him and like talked to him, and he like actually like cared and like heard my opinion, I guess, and then like helped me make the piece like he changed what he told me to do to make the piece actually work. And that was the first time when I was like, wow, like my opinion actually like has like people actually care what, like I might just be in ninth grade, but like I'm actually a part of the team, and like people actually like care and want to hear me.
Wow. You're talking about like how we've become more inclusive over the years, especially
Yeah.
towards our younger members.
Yeah, I think I like definitely noticed. I think it was also like a work in progress for all of the teams throughout high school, and I definitely noticed like every year after the previous one, we would be more inclusive. And like in my senior year, when you joined Delaney, and we had you and like Kevel doing so much like work for us, that was really amazing, and it was just a very good environment. So
I think I definitely I think coming from the same sub team, uh, it was definitely like throughout our years, what was like it had seemed to be a pattern beforehand was and I'm sure Tara can remember Ben writing the code like overnight on his own. Um, at least earlier on, I feel like throughout our 4 years, there was a lot more like focus on more programming kids staying in the sub team, more programming kids being involved with the robot, and making sure we don't fall into the easy trap of just letting 2 people, 3 people code the robot, because then if those people can't make it or something goes wrong, then no one. And so I think that was definitely something that changed a lot.
yeah, and I think that took like I think with programming, it it can be more difficult because working on code just can be hard to make collaborative sometimes. Even though we have Git and everything, like sometimes it feels easier when like only one person is working on code, and so I think it just took us more time to adjust and to be more inclusive of freshman over the year. Because yeah, I remember like my freshman and sophomore year, it was mostly our programming lead. It was really great. They were really great, but they did write most of the code, and so I think I got really close to them and learned a lot of things from them, and was able to become like was able to lead the team later. But we also got to work on just allowing more people to work on more parts of the code and improve the project in general. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then my senior year, I thought it was really good, and I'm sure you guys are continuing to make progress with that. So
Yeah. Speaking of progress, on our FRC 2020 repo, we have 11 contributors to that code.
nice, very
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm, yeah,
Ah, man, that's amazing.
yeah. And I know with mechanical, especially now, we've been getting into more CAD, and so we have a lot of our members CADing from home. And
That's
so we,
amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we've been getting a lot more
My
people.
whole time on the team, we kind of struggled with CAD as a team.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I never learned, so I still don't know how to CAD.
yeah, I think I think not having meetings in person has actually given us the opportunity to get more people to CAD. Like even control systems is CADing. One of our
Yeah.
mentors, yeah, like got the control systems team working on Eagle CAD, and I believe actually um, we sent in a purchase order for like a custom CADed electric circuit board, which like I find is so cool. Like not only did we learn how to CAD something, but we like CADed something that we're is going to be used over the season, and it's like going to be custom cut, and it's so cool.
That's
Um,
so cool.
yeah. Um, so shifting gears just a little bit, all of you have come from engineering subteams, and I don't know if any of you had any like significant comms experience. But if you did, feel free to share. And also, what got you into your sub team, and what do you like most about it?
I can go. I didn't have any comms experience. Uh, I think a couple things got me into build. One of them was Olivia, and the other one was uh, power tools. Very cool. Um, I think I wasn't interested in coding. I wanted to actually work on the robot, and CAD was a really small sub team. So I figured build was probably a good place to start, which is also what Olivia wanted to do. And she seemed to know pretty much right away what she wanted to do. So I kind of just tagged along with that because I thought it would be more fun to work together than on other things. So I kind of followed her to build, but also it just seemed like the best place where I could go and see the work that I got done go onto the robot, which is really what I wanted. And I just thought it'd be fun to learn how to use my hands and get dirty and build stuff. Um, and I think that was a good choice. But yeah, those were the big two.
Cool. So,
Yeah, I just
Belinda,
hmm?
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, um, Jack made it sound like you were really certain about what you wanted to do. So, like,
Yeah.
how did you?
I I think at the start I thought a tiny bit about joining the media team because in eighth grade I had done some stuff with that type of work. But I was like, I like being able to make things and take things apart. I'm the type of kid where my mom would like take me to like the store to like buy like a like I think we went to Goodwill and bought a toaster that didn't work just so that I could like take it apart and like experiment and stuff. So I've just been the type of kid that's like I want to do things and make things, and so it seemed like the best choice to go into build, where I could like continue to make things and use tools and that kind of stuff.
Fun. Ari, I remember you bought a microwave, and it was like a really kind of old looking microwave. It's like light blue ish. I think you started building a PC, and you also donated one that looked exactly like it to robotics, and we still
Yeah.
have that microwave. We've heated
Yeah,
up.
donated is interesting. Turns out that Walmart is a little slow on the whole press OK to purchase button. So I wound up with two microwaves at my front door. Um, yeah, actually, I finished it, which was a kind of a fun tie-in project that I did with our what was then the web lead, Simon. We did manage to finish it, and actually, before I went off to college, we ran a speed test and everything, and it was actually somehow faster with the door closed than open, and we will never know why, but it worked. It's definitely interesting. Um, I think if we're on the same subject of what made us like join, or at least for me, the programming sub team, I think a pattern that I definitely noticed, especially when I started like teaching the programming like kids, was that there are a lot of kids that join the programming team because programming sounds really cool, and it's usually like people who have seen a lot of movies and they're like, oh yes, I want to learn to type really fast and like hack mainframes and stuff. My favorite question of all time was during an interest meeting when I was asked if my curriculum would prepare a student for the APCS exam, which was hilarious. Um, I think it was certainly like I had done some small amounts of programming before, and I wanted to take a deeper dive, um, and I was ready to like to I guess in that case the first year learn Python, um,
Which we
and
never used.
not once, but it's okay. It's okay. It's a learning experience character. But it was certainly like I wanted to pursue that, and along the way, it just opened up so many like cool opportunities. It gave me the chance to like work with a robot that I had like never thought I would be able to work with ever. And it did, in fact, at the end of the day, I did not take the APCS exam. I should warn people that curriculum does not prepare you for the APCS exam. But um, it was certainly like for me a very big like I'm interested in learning more about this subject, and I was given a very healthy helping of programming.
Yeah. Um, to sort of speak on the APCS front, I think both the APCS class I took prepared me for object oriented programming, and the sheer amount of time that I spent programming in robotics really did prepare me for APCS. I mean, I got to talk to like an actual software developer who works for Microsoft, who knows good programming principles, decomposition, working with classes and objects. So I really got a lot of firsthand experience, both from our mentors and from seniors who to some extent really are like mentors to me. So thank you.
Aw. I feel like same with Ari. And oh, just one thing I wanted to say about the APCS thing is I did feel like robotic APCS is like they teach you how to do certain things, but not necessarily like how to put them together. And I think what robotics did in terms of programming was like really give you an experience of what it's like like to work on a big project with other people, especially, and work with tons of like different classes and just be experience at putting different parts together. And that's something that I've also seen like come up a lot in college too, like just with classes on like software design and implementation, and using like simple things like just like using Java docs and having good style and using Git. um, that's something that like robotics really gave you experience with, which was pretty cool, and a great addition to APCS. But yeah, so I guess my reason for joining programming was similar to Ari's. Um, I was kind of opposite of Olivia. Like I wasn't really a hands-on person or someone who like tinkers with things. I mean, I feel like I did a little bit of it, but that wasn't what I was as interested in. And I think with coding, it just the thought of like being able to program a robot to do certain tasks was really appealing to me. And I had the most experience with coding. I felt like I would have been the most like the best at it when I joined the team. So that was kind of why I joined. Um, and yeah, then I just like kept learning as I went on. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, yeah, I guess my reason for joining programming was that I was really interested in engineering. Like that's what I wanted to do on the team. And I did have some experience with programming. Um, and so like I kind of what I originally wanted to do was sort of work a little bit in each of the subteams. Um, but once I got started in programming, I kind of got like roped in to the whole thing, and so that's
Wait,
why.
Delaney, honestly, you did work in each in every sub team.
I mean,
Well,
You
yeah,
basically, yeah, you were
yeah,
part of every
program.
team.
Oh, thanks. Um, Especially with interdependence, um, that I think we're seeing more and more of each year. Like programming, in my opinion, does have a lot to do with the rest of the engineering subteams because especially like working with the motors, looking at okay, why is this motor spinning when it's supposed to be this other motor spinning? Looking at the wiring, looking at why did that mechanism fall when this motor spun? Um, Looking at like you have to know how the mechanisms work or in order to figure out which motors to spin. Um, so yeah, I think programming really has a strong foothold in the rest of the engineering subteams. Um, so yeah, and it's been an amazing 2 years too, and a couple of months, years in robotics so far. So yeah, sort of speaking to the future, how has your experience in robotics influenced what you're doing in college, and how has it sort of um, helped you like decide what you wanted to do in college?
Hmm.
Up until ninth grade, I knew I wanted to be in STEM, but I didn't know what kind of STEM. And like what I wanted to do in STEM would like move around like every like couple months. Like I just didn't really know. I just knew I liked STEM stuff. And then my mom told me and Jack that we had to be on the team. And we were like, no, that sounds stupid. And my mom was like, haha, that's too bad. And made us go to the team. And I was super scared that like the team would be a whole bunch of people who had a ton of experience and didn't have time to teach a student who like didn't have experience. But the team was great, and so um, I I think that just being on the team is what helped me understand that like this is the type of STEM that I want to do, and that I like the hands-on stuff, and I like being able to make things, and yeah.
I think a big part of robotics for me was like, um, in addition, I mean, obviously I'm majoring in CS in college, but I think like one of the big things I learned from it was just how to work with a team, and it got me experience with programming things that I could see the results of immediately. Like when you program in classes, and do projects, especially when you're doing like intro programming, some of the tasks are like, they seem kind of like useless. Like, why would I ever make like a random guessing game in the terminal or something? But with robotics, you got to see like your actual code being put to action. So that was really cool. And but yeah, in addition to that side of things, like learning how to work with a team, learning how to teach other students, and just how to collaborate on like a big project together and do it well and like produce a good result at the end. It's one of the big things that I think is important also just in college, like just with being a student and meeting other people and working on things together. So yeah.
I also think a important thing that I learned as well was how to be on, like it's like the how to be on a team, but not just how to be part of a team, but like how to be in charge of a team, and like that kind of stuff. Because I think that our team is like so big and there's so much stuff that like we do that it was a unique experience to get to like be a part of that and not just a member of the team but like be in charge of like I think we were in charge of about half of it, and like seeing how that all worked. And I think I learned a lot about how to interact with people while I was in charge of them and like how to like find the balance, I guess, between like trying to be strict enough that like we got things accomplished, but also trying to like get like spend time with the people on the team and like get to yeah, I don't know, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that because in college now. I'm a business major, so I'm not actually doing anything engineering related. So I can't really say that that really informed my college path that much. But what it did do, I think, primarily was it taught me how to lead better. It taught me
yeah,
how to first learn how to do what you're doing and then turn around and teach that to someone. Because when Olivia and I went into robotics as freshmen, we didn't know anything, and then 2 years later, we were teaching everyone, in a sense. Um, so I think what it really taught me was here's how to learn something quickly and then turn around and teach it, but also here's how to lead a really big group of people. Because when you're doing any of the positions that any of us were doing, you're in charge of between 25 and 50 people a lot of the time, which is a lot. So it was like now taking being in robotics um, now helps me be a leader more in college. So in my classes, it's easier to behave in groups and to lead groups, and it helped me. For example, with the fraternity that I joined. I joined the professional business fraternity at my school, um, and I think being in robotics gave me the confidence to decide that I wanted to try and be a leader in the pledge class that I was a part of. And I don't think I would have had that confidence or the mentality to try something like that without being in robotics. Because my thought going into the pledging process for the fraternity was if I don't try and be a leader now, I'm just going to lose the chance entirely and I'll never know if I could have done it. And I think that was kind of that started back in robotics where it was like if I don't try and be part of a lead engineer for the team now, there's a chance I just lose out on the opportunity altogether and I never know if I could have done it. And I think that was the biggest thing that informed the decisions I made in college.
Yes, I definitely relate to that a lot. Gave me a lot of experience for like the activities and stuff I do in college as well.
Yeah.
I think one more thing too is that it like taught me that it's okay to screw up and it's okay to like do a thing and then be like, oh wait, that was not the right thing, and that even though you might be like in charge of a group, that doesn't mean you have to be perfect, and it doesn't mean that you always have to do like the exact right thing, and that it's okay to like experiment, and it's okay to screw up, and like that doesn't mean that like you're not still making, I don't know how to put it in words, like even if you screw up, people still can take that and like turn it into like a good thing, and like still make, like you can make, yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. Like it doesn't mean that you're like a bad leader. I screwed up so many times in robotics and I'm still learning to be okay with screwing up. But yeah, it also taught me to like learn from the people that you're leading also, because like when you screw up, you have a team for a reason and they're there to fix your mistakes slash help you not screw up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. In my experience as programming lead last year, I really did still learn a lot um, from my sub team members and just from the experience of like officially being responsible for a group of people. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me it's so difficult to like pin a single thing for what robotics was. Robotics was so many things. It was volatile, it was unique, it was in like all of the best ways. I feel like growing up, I from the moment I picked up a DS, I was like, I'm going to code games and I'm going to make games and that's all I'm ever going to do, and I'm going to pursue programming for that reason. And I heard of a robotics club when I went to high school. Um, and apart from like building Legos, that was where like my building like expertise had come from. And I feel like the moment I walked into that computer lab, my world was like just shattered. There were robots that like I thought I feel like that first experience kind of gave me this idea of like, oh my goodness, I'm so old now. You know, like this gave me such like an opportunity. It was such an opportunity where um like to put it in a really simple way, like kiddos get to play, you know, professionals, where we were given, you know, the reins, we were given the means and a way to learn. And I think a lot of my a lot of the alums will probably recognize the phrase that that the robotics team, you'll get as much from the team as you put in. And I think that that was definitely correct. Robotics gave us an atmosphere that was close enough to a professional environment that you could gain experience that would be invaluable, but it was forgiving enough that you could take the chances that you might not have taken had you not been in robotics. And it gave you the opportunity to come over to the engineering side and see how kids are building things and how a router works and stuff like that. And it gave you a chance to go over on the other side and take photos or dance for the the videos that we had to do. And it gave you all these opportunities to really experiment what you had. And suffices to say, I am no longer you know, following a CS track to be a programmer for a video game company. But it definitely, if anything, completely turned you know, what my plans were going to be as far as majors are concerned upside down. So I think that that's definitely incredible.
Yeah, just talking about responsibility real quick. Can we talk about the fact that we were allowed to play with $30,000? Like, what was that? Like, we raised our
And
own money,
Yeah.
and we were in charge of spending like $30,000 a year.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
and we were
can you like,
student led.
I mean, you know, like think about what you were like 4 years ago, and then imagine giving you a power saw, right? It's like, wow, oh, that happened.
Have you ever held
Whoa.
a reciprocal saw? That thing could cut your hand off.
I remember there was this time, I think it was like junior year, when the school wasn't okay with us. We had like multiple accounts and the school wasn't a fan, and then we like heard that we had this account that we hadn't known we had, and it had like 20K in it or something, and we were like talking about it at like I think we like
We were
took
on a bus.
a bus to
We
a
were-
mall and we were talking
Yeah.
about it, and people in the bus were just like staring at us and they're like, why are these kids talking about like just having like a spare 20K that they didn't know that they had?
There was like 6 of
Well, that
us on a
sounds
bus
safe.
together, and we found out that day that we had this account, like Olivia was saying, and so we were just talking like, wow, we have like this extra $20,000 to work with, like we have so much money to work, and people were just glaring at us at the bus. They were so confused and like so upset. They were like, why are these 6 kids talking about how they're going to spend $20,000?
Oh my gosh.
That was so funny. I remember that day.
Yeah, this year, I have gotten the opportunity to be the treasurer for the team, and so I'm spreadsheets are fun, is what I've learned, and yeah, we're still spending like about that much. Numbers have changed a little bit due to the circumstances this year, but like when you put it in just perspective, like wow, that is incredible that we're given this opportunity to work with so much, and that we're fortunate enough to be able to raise this much money, and to use it for robotics and for competing and for outreach. So yeah, it's really
and
great.
we were responsible with it. We did well.
Yeah.
I remember
I
our
agree.
like budget meetings. Very impressive.
Yeah,
For high schoolers, very impressive.
definitely. Yeah, it's like so organized. Like we're still doing like budget meetings, and like just reviewing the numbers, and really thinking carefully about what we're going to be spending money on, because it does add up. Um, uh, so yeah, and also thinking about how we're going to fundraise, too. So yeah, Jack, if you have any like business input for that.
I don't. Don't ask me. I'm not there yet. I won't be any help at all.
Yeah. So I think we're reaching the end of our podcast. I just want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy college lives, to come and chat with us. It's been really fun. Um, and yeah, I know Nikhil, he's usually our host. He pitches, buy our merch. Our website, saintsrobotics.com. We'll probably put it in the description of this. I know, like, probably as alums, maybe repping that Saints Robotics would be something you want to do. So yeah. Oh, Olivia,
He's got
nice
it.
sweatshirt. Yeah.
Mine is in my closet. I should have worn it.
Yeah, it's like right out of reach.
I bought some when I was in high school, but it got stolen off my front porch, and I never got it figured out, so I don't have any.
Oh no.
But it's
Think
really
about
cool.
So good. Stolen off the front porch. That's how
Yeah.
good it was.
Yeah, I mean,
Buy
there must be people out there who like really want that Saints Robotics merch. So
It's a hot commodity.
buy it
I mean,
while
it
you
is
still
dope
can.
merch.
the next
Yeah.
Bitcoin, plausibly.
Ooh,
Maybe.
possibly.
Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
We can hope.
So we usually end our podcast and meetings, by saying robotics break.
Wait,
So,
there's
yeah,
one thing
sure.
that I want to say first. I am extremely impressed with what the team has been able to accomplish in the time that I've been off the team. Because, like, I remember, like, I've talked to the other people who graduated at the time as me, and, like, it's just, you guys have all accomplished a ton, and, like, I'm just extremely impressed.
Oh,
I
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That means a lot. Hearing that come from you. So thank you. Yeah. So do we want to try the robotics break now? Countdown. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. We got this. 3, 2, 1. Robotics.
Robotics.
Great.
Great.
I think Jack was the one who was behind this.
Yeah.